we threw a lid and this vessel earlier, and now they're both leather hard. And so we can actually now just check, and we can see that that lid rests neatly in that gallery, luckily. So we'll look at that a little bit later. But the first thing we want to do is we want to have a little feel inside and see where we've got the thickness in the pot. So the shoulder coming down the side here is pretty good, but it does start to get a little thick down here. I can see if I'm looking on the inside that the flatness of the bottom is probably about this wide. So if I take that as a guide and put that upside down and put that on there and a little mark, then I think we can pretty easily take that in at least 1 centimetre on that corner. So we'll start by centering the pot, and as we do with turning, we're just going to moisten down the top of that wheel so we can create a little bit of suction. So we get that into the middle, and we're going to centre it to start with. So because this is all quite thick here, let's think about centering it maybe from probably the part where we're not going to do too much turning. So that seems pretty centred there, a little bit off maybe there. All right, so we'll get our four pieces of clay again. Might get some new clay here. And we're going to get this pot stuck onto the wheel. So the 4 balls, one on either side, pressing down onto the wheel head and slightly in on the pot. And again for the next 2. At the same time, down on the wheel and slightly in on the pot. All right, so we've created the suction with the wheel and the slight bit of water, and we've got these little wads here which will stop the pot from moving. Okay, now I've got my needle tool here, and we're going to start by drawing a guide circle. So I did a little mark. We worked out we're going in a little bit over 1 centimetre. So when you draw that circle on, you can see if there's a wider side on the circle and a smaller side on the circle, you could see where maybe the pot is, it might be off centre. So we'll just have a check. The pot's on centre. So that's just sometimes a good thing to look at, because that can indicate sometimes that your pot's off centre. So we'll use I might use the big tool because we've got quite a bit of bulk to take away. So again, holding our turning tool like we're conducting the orchestra, middle finger in the centre of the pot, and we're going to just start. We're just going to even up a bit of this clay. So just taking off these big bits of, and we're moving towards the base of that pot, coming up to that circle, which is going to be where we stop. If it starts getting a little sticky, use the point of the tool and start doing some concentric circles. And then we can come back and we can flatten that off. I'll do a few more concentric circles. So by having your arm anchored here and your hands touching each other, it can really help you keep a grip on that tool, because you don't want it catching and flying off and making a big gouge in your pot. Okay, so I'm going to just even that up now with the flat edge of the tool. And so again, we're doing the silhouette of the pot. So we'll just have a look, and I think I'll just even that up a little bit. And up to the top. Now, I might just take out a small amount from the inside. So again, I'm going to take my needle tool. I'll do a guide circle. It's a bigger vessel, so it can be a little bit bigger, but again, we want it to relate to the rim of the pot. So if your pot's got a finer feel, then don't make the foot too chunky. We just take out a little bit of this clay. You want to work out the best way to hold that tool. Here I've got my fourth finger leaning on the outside of the pot there, so that sort of gives me a bit of a stability. I'm anchored here, and this hand here is holding the top of that tool just to really keep it stable. Many different ways to hold your tools, but the main thing is that you just want to be able to keep everything nice and steady. You want to be anchored, and you want the tool to be in the right direction so that the clay can travel through the ribbon. Get that cleaned up. Usually with turning, you have the wheel going medium to a little fast. And then we've got our foot, so we might just take off the sharp edges, just so that it's not going to scratch the table. And then we just revisit the width. So have a look at the width of it. See if you don't want it too fine because it's quite a big vessel, but you don't want it too wide necessarily either. So we're just by playing around with some shadows, you can change that. And then once you're happy with that, we can take our damp sponge. We can just knock over a few of those edges, soften any lines that we want to soften. And then we've turned the base of that pot. We can come back and sponge over any little niches or scratches on the pot later. Pull those away, and there we've got the bottom of the pot. So it's got quite a different sort of shape now. We've removed all of that weight there. So now if I can have another little look in here, I can see there's a little bit of thickness through here. I might just take a tiny bit away from in here. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I'll show you how to do that anyway. So again, we're going to centre the pot. And because we're working in this gallery area, we want to centre it from this gallery. So where the gallery comes away, where that rim comes away from your finger, you want to move it halfway towards your finger. There we go. We'll take our wads again, either side at the same time, pressing down onto the wheel and into the pot. Now I've got this tiny little turning tool here, and I'm just going to take out a little bit of this clay in the gallery. So to keep that even, I've got this fourth finger resting on the side of the pot. I'm anchored, and so my fingers are creating like a little tool, and I can just hold that, and I'm just cleaning up that inside there a little bit. And I'll just tip all that out. As they dry, those little shavings, they'll fall out a bit easier. Okay, so we've got a little bit more taken away there. Now we're going to have a look at our lid. So our lid will fit in here, and we have a look at the shape. So we've got this cute little shape coming on here, so we could emphasise that and clean that up a little bit. And then up here we're going to turn a little knob on the top. So the width around here is quite good. That sort of fits quite snug. There's not too much movement. So we won't take too much off from here. It's more about removing the weight from the top. And we want to have a feel in here and sort of have a look and see where that, where the thickness is. Okay. And we can always take it off and put it back on again and do it a couple of times. So again, we're going to start with a little bit of dampness on the wheel. We'll get this centred. So we've also got these lines on the wheel that will help us centre as well. There we go. Now, we probably won't need so much clay this time. So we'll just have some smaller wads. Because we don't want to interfere with where our turning tool is going to go. Now, so we'll get a turning tool and finger in the middle of that, and so this finger is really holding that knob down onto the wheel because we don't want it flying off. So we're going to clean up that outside there first. Now I might use this shape in here. Oh, might have to hold it up this way to get in here. Oops. So you just have to take your time and slowly start to shape the lid. There's a lot of different ways to throw and turn different shaped lids. This is just one way. Okay, I'm going to take a bit more of this side off here. It's just a little bit too wide. And then I'll come I kind of like that little ridge in it. Use this one again. Got a couple of tools. Come back with this one to come into this knob section. Okay, and then I'm just going to shape this. Might try my little tool. Well, that really took that away. I'm going to keep that little extra I'll clean up that top. Okay, so now I might just give it a little sponge over, get rid of a few of those lines. Okay, let's have a look, see how it's looking. Okay, so we've got our little lid on. Fits pretty well, and it doesn't look like it's not a part of the pot. So I think I'd be happy with that. And that's how you throw, that's how you throw and turn a lidded vessel.